for elections. So I have been working with counties and municipalities administering the election code for the state. I cannot say that I know the election code by heart, but I know the election code. And if I can't find the answer, or I don't know the answer, I can find it in there. With that, I received a phone call right after the first of the year from Mr. Peavy. Asked me if I would come to Randolph County and assist them in replacing an election supervisor and also helping them get back on track because they were way behind in the election process. At that time, I was very busy, but I came down and met with Scott, and I also met with the County Board of Commissioners. Basically, between the Board of Elections and the County Commissioners, they read my contract, they signed me up the same day, and I've been working for Randolph County as a consultant ever since they approved the contract. One of my main jobs is to look at everything that I see. I make no decisions. I can make recommendations. I can make suggestions, but I don't make any decisions, and I have no control at all over the county election process. Okay, as I said that, I just wanted to let you know that you're talking, or somebody that is talking to you has a little bit experience in elections, and I wanted you to understand that. Now, main question in a lot of people's minds, and I'm hearing all kinds of comments from people being interviewed on camera and everything else. Why are we here this evening? And that's what a lot of questions have been asked for the people that have been in front of the TV cameras. First of all, I would like to tell you, no matter what you've heard on the radio, no matter what you've been hearing in telephone conversations, no decision has been made to do anything other than follow the recommendation to potentially consolidate the polling places. Nothing has been finalized. The board is doing this tonight as a courtesy to the public. It is not required. This is not a hearing. This is a meeting. It used to be that the Secretary of State required anything that happened to the polling places that you would have to conduct 2 public meetings and invite all the public so they could come and hear what is going on and everything else. To Mr. Peavy's credit and to Michelle's credit, they decided to hold public meetings also. They used to be called public hearings. This is not a hearing. This is a meeting. And the purpose of this meeting is to give you as much information as they can to possibly consider consolidation of the polls. There are a few things that we're going to bring to your presentation, to your attention, and we have a presentation to back up some of the things, the reason we're going to make that suggestion. So I want to go along with that. I want to repeat that this was not a requirement by the Secretary of State. This is something the board decided to do for the citizens of Randolph County. Okay, why is consolidation even being considered? The number one reason, and it's going to take a little bit of information from me to you so you will understand. When I first came on as a consultant, the first thing I asked for is how many voters do you have and how many precincts do you have? When I found out that they had right at 4,000 voters and 9 precincts, a big question mark went over the top of my head. Why? That is a lot of precincts with very low turnout for voters, and it just didn't set well with me. But that was how I felt. I mean, I came from a county with 15,000 voters, and we had 8 precincts. Now that same county has 16,000 voters with 4 precincts. So it just didn't ring true to me on why we had so many precincts and so few voters? Well, during the last 2 elections, I have visited every one of the precincts. I have met with the poll managers, the assistants, the clerks, and I have viewed the polling places. Folks, I will tell you right now, your polling places are not ADA compliant, period. That's all I can say about it. Now, if you don't know what ADA compliance means, it's Americans with the Disabilities Act. You have to have compliant polling places. You're going to see during the presentation is out of the 9 polling places, 7 of them are not compliant at all. 2 of them are compliant. Now, to kind of prove my point, Todd and the board here are required every year to sign an affidavit to the Secretary of State's office stating that ADA compliance is met for these polling places. I cannot speak for the past. I wasn't here. But whoever signed those affidavits was breaking the law, because it's that plain and that simple. This is the questionnaire that the Secretary of State requires for all polling places. You have to talk about walkways, rails, bathroom rails, parking lots, everything else, anything that would restrict a handicapped person from voting has to be compliant with the polling places. So, stating that, I would like to say that basically it was my recommendation to the board at the end of both elections on what they needed to do. And number one, was to become ADA compliant. The second recommendation, and you can blame me for this meeting tonight, because I recommended to the board that they seriously consider consolidation of the polling places. When I saw the turnout, when you have 12 voters show up to one precinct, when you have 22 voters show up to another precinct, and you're paying those poll workers all day long from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, and you have 12 people show up, that just doesn't ring true to being prudent to the taxpayers' dollars in the county. So, in looking at that, one thing before I get into the presentation, and I can tell you right now, I know I'm going to make some hair on the back of 2 people's necks stand up.
Yes, I understand.
As I said, pardon me for chewing my gum. I've got to keep moisture in my mouth. My cold is about to kill me. Basically, the number one complaint that anybody gets that talks about consolidation. I experienced it in Greene County. I know the people in Morgan County, the other people. The first thing that's going to be said is you are trying to do nothing but disenfranchise voters. That is the absolute farthest thing from the fact that there is. And let me tell you why. The Secretary of State and the Election Division has done many things for the voters. Voters have 45 days prior to the election to apply and secure an absentee ballot by mail. They have 3 weeks, which is 16 days, that includes a Saturday, to show up at this very building to cast a vote on the DRE machines for early voting. Plus, they have election day. Now, all of that opportunity from 45 days out until election day, somebody is going to come in to Cuthbert from Fountain Bridge and these other places they're going to come in during that 45-day period. They can get a ballot by mail, they can vote in person, or they can still wait till election day. So I don't understand how somebody can say that if you're going to consolidate, that's disenfranchising voters. You're giving them 45 days with everything in there. So, with that, the other concern that we always get, and we get it, and this is not taking shots at anybody, we get it from candidates. We get it from candidates that are in their election cycle. We get it from non-candidates who are in their election cycle, is the time is not right. We always hear it. Now, I'm going to answer a question for you, and you're going to sit there for a second because I'm going to be quiet afterwards. When is, or is this the right time?
No.
The answer is no.
Right.
It's not. The reason it's not the right time, it's never the right time. Should we wait till a presidential year? Should we wait till an off year? We don't have an off year. The main thing is no one, not everyone, is going to be happy with the talk of consolidation, whether it be now, after the first of the year, or 2 years down the road. No one is going to be happy about it. But now I want to get into the presentation, and I want to show you some of the reasons why I recommended, and like I say, I don't have any say-so on whether this is going to happen or not. This was nothing more than a piece of paper that I shared with Mr. Black and Mr. Peavy on what I would recommend that Randolph County look at. What's the old Georgia saying? I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just doing my job. And my job is making what I consider to be a valid recommendation to this board. What they're doing here tonight, and as I repeat again, they're not required to, they're doing this so the public can hear why they're even considering it. They may not do it. They may do it. They may delay it down the road, but this is the board's decision. This board is an autonomous board. They are not governed by the county commission. They are appointed by the county commission and the cities, and they make the decisions for the board. They will not be influenced by the county commission or the local municipalities. So, other than that, Todd, I think we're ready to start here. I want to give you this presentation. If you need to view a slide a little longer than what I normally would keep it up here, say please, Mr. Malone, keep it up there a little longer if you're making notes and things like that. So I appreciate you giving me my opening comments, and now we're going to get into the presentation here. This is for the consideration of the consolidation of the precincts for Randolph County. The effort is to maximize voter turnout, not suppress it. It wouldn't even be in the conversation. Maximize voter turnout and to be a good steward. We are not going to beat you to death tonight with cost savings or anything else, but there are considerable savings in here. The tax dollars, the board is responsible for being a good steward of the tax dollars. So basically it is going to be proposed